Today we're going to look at Senator McCain and Senator Graham. Who do you trust? So in this Meet the Press video today that they had with Chuck Todd, the moderator, they talked about how affirmative the information is that we have about Russia hacking and how we must proceed towards this drumbeat towards war, essentially, is what they're after, and putting sanctions on Russia and all sorts of payback. But what I want to kind of get into is these two guys. How American, how great are these guys for this country? Lindsey Graham, senator from South Carolina. In the Meet the Press video that we're going to see, Lindsey Graham tries to make point that, hey, he's the guy to trust, him and McCain are the guys to trust, and the intelligence community are the people to trust. Back on March 12th, 2015, Lindsey Graham was actually caught on a tape in a town hall meeting. Some people are saying it's a joke, but what he said was, and here's the thing I would do if I were President of the United States. I wouldn't let Congress leave town until we fix this. I would literally use the military to keep them in if I had to. We're not leaving town until we restore these defense cuts. We are not leaving town until we restore the intel cuts. So, Mr. Freedom here thinks it's funny to say that he would use the military if he was elected president to keep Congress in Washington, D.C. as until they vote to give more money to the military and to the intelligence community. Let's move along to John McCain. John McCain, senator from Arizona. What's funny is every time that there's some sort of war engagement we're involved in, Mr. McCain's answer to everything is, hey, surge. Let's just give more troops. Let's send more of American men and women to fight in foreign lands. And again, anytime there's, just to prove what I just said, anytime there's some sort of skirmish, McCain will call for a surge of troops to Afghanistan. This was in 2008. McCain and Graham, November 16th, 2015, we need a serious surge. But what I find most disturbing about John McCain is the claims that are on the internet, and I'll give you some links where you can read this here. John McCain, when he was captured in Vietnam, he was actually a son of an admiral. He was an incredibly valuable military asset. Now, what really came out just recently, just back in August of this year, through True News, is John McCain's Tokyo Rose propaganda recording. Now, it is an act of treason and abandonment of the United States to actually record for a foreign enemy comfort and lying statements. So let's just listen to this.
To the Vietnamese people and the government of the DRVN, from John C. McCain, 624787, Lieutenant Commander, U.S. Navy, born 29 August 1936, Panama, home state, Oregon. Shot down 26 October 1967, A4D aircraft. I, as a U.S. airman, am guilty of crimes against the Vietnamese country and people. I have bombed their cities, towns, and villages and caused many injuries, even death, to the people of Vietnam. I was captured in the capital city of Hanoi while attacking it. After I was captured, I was taken to the hospital in Hanoi, where I received very good medical treatment. I was given an operation on my leg, which allowed me to walk again, and a cast on my right arm, which was badly broken in 3 places. I wish to express my deep gratitude for my kind treatment, and I will never forget this kindness extended to me.
So there you have it. In McCain's own mouth, his own words, essentially betraying the United States. There's the old saying, name, rank, and serial number. That one tape is evidence of more than name, rank, and serial number. Trump was also called out because in this video, and I'm not going to show the whole thing, but he had said, hey, he likes people who weren't captured. He thinks a war hero is someone who isn't captured. But what a lot of people didn't see was this portion here.
We have 15,000 people. The biggest one ever. Bigger than Bernie Sanders, bigger than 15,000 people showed up to hear me speak. Bigger than anybody. And everybody knows it. A beautiful day with incredible people that were wonderful, great Americans, I will tell you. John McCain goes, oh boy, Trump makes my life difficult. He had 15,000 crazies show up. Crazies. He called them all crazy. I said, they weren't crazy. They were great Americans. These people, if you would have seen these people, I know what crazy is. I know all about crazies. These weren't crazy.
So that's what John McCain thinks of real Americans. Calls them crazies. Now, along with the story of Songbird McCain, this has been around for actually a long time. This didn't just come out. I'm not showing you something that people just started making up. There's a lot of veterans who have been against John McCain for a long time. And I'll really let you read this stuff yourself. But this is an interesting statement here. Colonel Ted Guy was preparing criminal charges against John McCain when Nixon took Admiral McCain's little boy under his wing. Where are McCain's 32 propaganda tapes that were made during Vietnam and broadcast over the radio to U.S. troops? So one of these tapes has been found now. So before we get into the Meet the Press video from Sunday, January 8th, I wanted to actually touch base on the other person that we're being told by Mr. Graham and Mr. McCain that is beyond reproach, and that's Jim Clapper. Let's listen to this. This is Jim Clapper testifying to the Senate Select Committee, to Senator Wyden, back in 2013, I believe it is, March 2013.
What I'm really trying to do is get an unclassified answer to a question about what the law authorizes.
The law is, of course, as you know, is embedded in the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, which was recently, the amendment, and to which was recently extended for 5 years. And it places very strict strictures on the intelligence community's tracking of U.S. persons where there is a terrorism nexus. And that is overseen very strictly by both the FISA court as well as within the executive branch, both by my office and the Attorney General.
So what I wanted to see is if you could give me a yes or no answer to the question, does the NSA collect any type of data at all on millions or hundreds of millions of Americans?
No, sir.
It does not.
Not wittingly. There are cases where they could inadvertently, perhaps, collect, but not wittingly.
Not wittingly would they find this information. That was his answer. But what was the reality revealed by the leaks from Edward Snowden? The reality was NSA tracking cell phone locations worldwide, including within the United States. The National Security Agency is gathering nearly 5 billion records a day on the whereabouts of cell phones around the world, according to top-secret documents and interviews with U.S. intelligence officials, enabling the agency to track the movements of individuals and map their relationships in ways that would have been previously unimaginable. And of course, just as a reminder, that the Supreme Court did rule that this NSA program was illegal. This is a real quick one on Jim Clapper and his recent testimony.
I think there is an important distinction here between healthy skepticism, which policymakers, to include policymaker number one, should always have for intelligence, but I think there's a difference between skepticism and disparagement.
So, I wonder what that line is, Mr. Clapper. When should we Stop being skeptical of someone who would lie to Congress under oath. So now that we've got that all out of the way, James Clapper testified falsely under oath about an illegal NSA collection activity. John McCain, aka Songbird, has a very spotty history when it comes to what actually happened during his captivity. Moreover, he has a detest for the average American citizen like you and me. Senator Graham, we can see how callous and disconnected from the American people this guy is. But hey, let's hear them talk about how we should push for war with Russia.
I believe our intelligence leaders, General Clapper and Admiral Rogers, who testified before the Armed Services Committee, are credible people. What they're saying is there's a long history of Russian attempts to affect the outcome of our election.
Yeah, you know, here's the deal for me. What we're trying to do is find out what the Russians did in our elections and make sure that other people, including the Russians, won't do it next time. No doubt in my mind that Russians interfered, that John Podesta's emails were hacked by the Russians, not some 14-year-old kid or 300-pound guy, and that the DNC was compromised by the Russians. And it seems pretty clear to me that WikiLeaks got it from the Russians.
Let me play devil's advocate here. What about what some Trump supporters might say, Senator McCain? Hey, we spy on Russia. Russia spies on us. We've done some democracy. We've supported democracy movements in Russia actively. So, isn't that a form of getting involved in their politics? How is this not the same thing?
It isn't just elections that they are hacking into. It is across the board, including military secrets that we have, including the ability to shut down satellites, including the ability to shut down power plants.
So, apparently, Mr. McCain doesn't read recent events, because it just came out how the Washington Post faked a story about Russian hacks into our power grid. And then when we saw in the earlier video Mr. Graham talking about Julian Assange and John Podesta's emails, let's take a look at John Podesta's emails again.
We published, as part of our policy of full disclosure, not interfering with material, we published the several Podesta emails, which shows Podesta responding to a phishing email. Now, how did they respond? Podesta gave out that his password was the word password.
John Podesta's email password, his login password, was password. In our final snippet, I just think it's important again to paint Mr. McCain and Mr. Graham by association as to where they're coming from. In this snippet, he's talking about how he would have liked Mr. Trump to have been there when they went to Ukraine and met with the rebels and such.
They have slaughtered Ukrainians. They have dismembered a country, and I don't think they're through. And they've done so in violation of all international norms of behavior, and they're putting strains on the post-World War II New World Order.
I think sometimes it's awesome the way wicked people have a way of defeating themselves with their own words. You just can't get enough of saying what they're really about. And they're not about the United States of America. They're about the New World Order and global government and global destruction of social norms and global destruction of people. That's you, Mr. McCain. Who do I trust? Certainly is not these guys.
Thanks for watching. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to this channel. Catch me on patreon.com with exclusive content and on minds.com with abbreviated content.